If you ever found a 3,000-year-old jar of food in an ancient Egyptian tomb, would you eat it? Most people would say absolutely not. But there's one food that archaeologists have found in ancient tombs, and it was still perfectly good to eat. I'm talking about honey, the only natural food on Earth that practically never spoils. So here's what's crazy. You've got a little plastic bear or a glass jar sitting in your kitchen cabinet right now. It might sit there for months, and it's fine. But why? How does a tiny insect create a substance that outlasts entire empires? Welcome to Science Curiosity. Today, we're not just talking about honey as a sweet treat. We're going inside the hive to uncover the incredible, almost magical chemistry that turns flower nectar into liquid gold. And trust me, by the end of this video, you will never look at honey the same way again. Okay, let's start at the very beginning. Honey doesn't start with bees. It starts with flowers. Flowers want to get pollinated, so they bribe insects with a sweet, watery drink called nectar. Here enters our hero, the female worker bee. She's a forager. Here's a stat that'll blow your mind. To make just 1 pound of honey, a single colony has to visit around 2 million flowers. That's like you walking from New York to Los Angeles 3 times, just for 1 jar. Now, when that forager lands on a bloom, she uses a long, tube-like tongue called a proboscis. But she doesn't swallow it into her stomach. She stores it in a special internal pouch called her honey stomach. And this is where science gets interesting. Inside that honey stomach, her body releases a special enzyme called invertase. Invertase is an enzyme that chops up the complex sugars in the nectar, the ones that are hard to digest, into 2 simpler sugars, glucose and fructose. That's why honey is so easy for us to digest. The bees already did the hard work. But here's where it gets even cooler. When she gets back to the hive, tired, full, ready, she doesn't just spit the nectar into a honeycomb. No. She finds a younger processor bee and passes the nectar to her, mouth to mouth. The processor bee chews that nectar for about 30 minutes, adding more enzymes from her own glands. Those enzymes do 2 amazing things. They produce trace amounts of gluconic acid and hydrogen peroxide, which makes honey acidic for most bacteria to survive. So even before it's honey, it's already becoming a natural antibiotic. At this point, the mixture is still way too watery, about 80% water. And here's a simple truth. Water plus sugar fermentation. Yeast loves water. If bees left it like that, their winter food would spoil. So the processor bees spread the syrup across the perfect hexagonal wax cells of the honeycomb. Then, thousands of bees start fanning their wings like crazy. They create a massive draft of warm air across the hive. That airflow evaporates the water out of the nectar. The moisture level drops. And that's the secret. With almost no water, nothing can grow. No bacteria, no mold, no yeast. Honey becomes chemically stable, immortal. Finally, the bees seal each cell with a fresh, airtight layer of beeswax. Locked away. Perfect. Ready for winter. Now here's the part that gets me every single time. A single worker bee, in her entire 6-week life, produces 1/12 of a teaspoon of honey. Let me say that again. 1/12 of a teaspoon. So the next time you stir a spoonful into your tea or drizzle it over yogurt, pause for a second. That 1 spoonful represents the life's work of dozens of bees, thousands of miles of flight, millions of flowers, a symphony of chemistry, teamwork, and evolution. That's not just food. That's a miracle in a jar. If you found this video interesting, share this with a friend who loves random facts. And subscribe for more interesting videos.